My name is Ava Sinclair, and I was 29 the day I watched my own funeral. I was making coffee in my apartment when my phone buzzed. A video message had arrived from a name I hadn't seen in years, Mrs. Ellery, our old neighbor from back in Crestmont. Her name alone made my stomach twist. She hadn't contacted me since I left, so why now? The message had no greeting, just one chilling line. "I'm so sorry about your parents. I can't believe what I saw today." Confused, I tapped the video. It was a church. A very familiar one, St. Augustine's, the same place my parents used to drag me for Christmas Eve service when I was a child. The camera zoomed in slowly on two figures at the podium. My parents. My mother, Margot, in black lace, clutching pearls, dabbing fake tears. My father, Harold, stiff and solemn, holding a trembling sheet of paper. Behind them stood a casket, and next to that casket was my photograph. Large, framed, surrounded by white lilies. I froze. Then came my father's voice. She was always troubled, but we loved her. We did everything we could. My vision blurred. I replayed the video again. I wasn't dead. I was standing there, alive, breathing, and watching my own obituary being read. "Though she left this world far too young, we pray her soul finds peace." I felt like the air had been sucked from the room. My hands gripped the counter. Why were they doing this? We hadn't spoken in years, not since they disowned me. But now a funeral? Not a single call. Not even a message. They told the world I was dead. And the more I watched, the more I realized it wasn't just a lie. It was a performance. It hadn't always been like this. There was a time I believed in family, loyalty, protection, unconditional love. But that illusion shattered 3 years ago, the day they threw me out like garbage. Not because I did something wrong, but because someone else did, and I was the perfect scapegoat. That someone? My younger sister, Brielle. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong. Except she did. She embezzled nearly $80,000 from our family's business account. She was reckless, addicted to luxury she couldn't afford, and when the books stopped balancing, someone had to take the fall. And that someone was me. I still remember it like it happened yesterday. In the kitchen, my mother's voice dripping venom. Better one ruined daughter than two. My father didn't even look at me when he said, "You humiliated us. You're no longer part of this family." The next morning I was gone. No warning. No money. No explanation to anyone. Just silence. I tried to fight. I called, texted, emailed. I even wrote handwritten letters. They never replied. Eventually, I realized my number had been blocked. When I reached out to old friends and family, the responses dried up. One by one, the people I'd grown up with closed their doors to me. I was no longer just outcast. I was erased. So I did the only thing I could. I left the country. I took a job at a small cafe in Lisbon, changed my number, kept to myself, and stayed off social media. I lived quietly. Barely anyone knew where I was or even what name I went by. But deep down, there was always this small, flickering hope that maybe one day anyone would reach out, ask if I was okay, say it had all been a horrible mistake. But that day never came. Instead, something worse did. Last year, I tried to log into my old email. The system wouldn't let me. When I contacted support, they said my account had been deactivated. Reason: account holder deceased. My name, Ava Sinclair, had been marked as legally dead in the system. They hadn't just disowned me. They had digitally killed me. I didn't sleep that night. That video from the church played on a loop in my mind. My parents' voices. Their crocodile tears. My photo. My eulogy. Something wasn't right. And I wasn't about to let them get away with it. The next morning, I started digging. I needed answers, not guesses, not assumptions, proof. Something I could hold in my hands that would confirm I hadn't lost my mind. I picked up my phone and dialed the one person I thought might still have a sliver of decency left. Aunt Valerie, my mom's older sister. She used to sneak me extra dessert at family dinners when I was little. If anyone would tell me the truth, I thought it would be her. She answered on the second ring. "Hello. Her voice was cautious. "Aunt Valerie, it's me. It's Ava." Silence. Then click. She hung up. I called again. Blocked. My stomach sank. Next, I tried my cousins. Micah, the oldest, replied with a thumbs-up emoji and never messaged back. Natalie, the more sensitive one, sent back. Is this some kind of sick joke? It was like no one even believed I could be alive. Except one. Elijah, the youngest of the bunch. He was only 12 when I left, but we were close. I helped him build his science fair project once and taught him how to play cards when he had the flu. He texted back hesitantly. "Ava, are you really alive?" "Yes," I typed furiously. "I need to know what they told everyone. Please." The typing bubble blinked for a long time. Then came the reply. "They said you died in a car crash. Overseas. 3 years ago." I nearly dropped the phone. Elijah continued. "They said it was too late to bring your body home. Closed casket. Cremation. There was no car crash. I had never even owned a car while I was abroad." A strange coldness settled into my bones. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was orchestrated. Planned. I opened my drawer and began pulling everything out: passport stamps, lease agreements, job contracts, immigration paperwork, anything that could prove I had been alive and well for the past 3 years. Then I searched the public death records. There it was. Ava Sinclair. Date of death: July 16th. Cause: road accident. Certificate ID: VF 289631. They had filed a death certificate. They made me legally dead. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. This wasn't grief. This wasn't denial. This was a cover-up. But what were they hiding that was so important they were willing to bury me alive? I was about to find out. I should have stopped there. But once you learn that your own family declared you dead, you don't walk away. You dig until the grave they tried to bury you in crumbles. I hadn't looked at my sister's social media in years, but something told me to check. Brielle Sinclair, the one they'd sacrificed me to protect, had gone public again on Instagram. And there it was. A glittering wedding carousel. White roses. Crystal chandeliers. Champagne towers. Her dress, custom-tailored. A diamond ring the size of a thumbnail. Everyone was there. Aunt Valerie, smiling like she hadn't just hung up on me. My cousins clinking glasses like nothing ever happened. Even Uncle Dean, who hadn't traveled for a funeral in decades. But not me. Not a single caption. Not a "wish Ava could have been here." Not even a flicker of acknowledgement. I was gone. Erased. Until I saw it. In one of the photos, taken during the reception, there was a speech in progress. A toast. Her new husband stood beaming. And next to him, my father. He held a wine glass, speaking into a microphone, grinning. The caption? "To the one daughter who always made us proud." That was it. The switch. I hadn't just been forgotten. I'd been replaced. My heart pounded as I opened the business registry for our family company. A few clicks. A few documents. And then I saw it. The trust fund my grandparents left for me. My college fund. My startup capital. The entire inheritance that had been promised since I was a child. Transferred to Brielle. 6 months after my death. Legally. Quietly. Cleanly. She didn't mourn me. She cashed in on me. I stared at her glowing face on the screen. The pearl earrings. The white silk. The smile stretched across her face like victory. My sister hadn't just stolen my life. She'd erased me to inherit it. And that was the moment I knew. They wanted me dead? Then they were about to find out just how alive I really was. The next morning, I walked into a downtown law office in Chicago with a folder of documents clutched in my hands and fury tightening every breath. The receptionist looked up as I stepped in. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm here to undo my own funeral," I said flatly. 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from a young attorney named Caleb Morrison, who looked at my stack of files with growing disbelief. "You're challenging your own death certificate?" he asked slowly. "I'm not dead," I replied, sliding the forged certificate across the table. but I plan to haunt the hell out of the people who made me disappear." He blinked, then nodded, taking the papers like he was holding something radioactive. "We'll start with a fraud complaint," he said, "and a motion to revoke the declaration of death. It'll take time, but—" "I don't have time," I cut in, "because apparently they're holding a memorial service for me this Sunday." His eyes widened. "Wait, what?" That morning, I'd received a text from an unknown number. "They're holding your memorial at St. Augustine's this Sunday, 11 a.m. No name, no explanation. But I didn't need one. I knew that church. I knew that address. And now, I had a plan. That night, I stood by my apartment window overlooking the city. Lights glittered like sparks waiting for gasoline. They dressed me in lies, buried me in silence, pretended I never existed. But now? Now I had a stage. Let them cry. Let them grieve. Let them perform. And when the curtain lifts, let's give them a funeral to remember. St. Augustine's had never looked so full. The street outside was lined with black cars, guests in somber clothes stepping through the church's heavy doors. Some clutched tissues. Others held each other in tearful embraces. It was a pageant of grief, a performance of loss. And I was about to ruin it. I watched from across the street, wearing a long black coat, dark sunglasses, and a blank expression. I didn't shake. I didn't cry. I was calm, like a storm just before it hits land. Inside, the organ played something slow and sorrowful. Candles flickered beneath my framed photograph, the same one they used on the fake obituary. I remembered that day. I'd been laughing, genuinely. And now that same smile stared back at the crowd like a ghost's invitation. My father, Harold, stood at the pulpit, his voice echoing just loud enough to carry. Ava was troubled, but we loved her. She lost her way. And though we couldn't reach her, we never stopped praying she'd come back to us. My mother, Margot, sat in the front row, lace-trimmed tissues in hand, dabbing at dry eyes like she'd been rehearsing her tears for weeks. And Brielle, my sister, stood beside her, hands shaking, pearls around her neck, eyes glistening for the crowd. My sister Ava was complicated, she sniffled, voice cracking. But she was mine. I wish I'd gotten the chance to say goodbye. Lies. Wrapped in sobs. Delivered like poetry. Then came the priest. Let us now stand for a moment of silence. Everyone rose. Heads bowed. Eyes closed. And in that moment, I pushed the doors open. Creak. The sound echoed like a tomb splitting apart. The cold daylight spilled into the church, cutting through the incense haze like a spotlight. Click. 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 Each step of my heels on the marble floor echoed louder than the last. Gasps rippled through the room. A child's voice pierced the hush. "Mommy, isn't that her?" I removed my sunglasses. Eyes turned. Dozens of them. Some widened in horror. Others trembled with disbelief. My mother's face drained of color. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Then she collapsed, fainting dramatically into the pew like she was on stage. My father's wine glass slipped from his hand and shattered against the floor. Brielle stared at me. Fingers clenched. Jaw tight. Her champagne glass tipped and spilled across her designer heels. Even the priest stepped back. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. My presence was louder than any scream. It was the storm after their fake calm. By the time I reached the front of the aisle, the entire church was silent, paralyzed. I stood beneath my own portrait and turned to face them. Dozens of shocked faces. And I smiled. Let the truth begin. I cleared my throat, my voice cutting through the silence like glass. I heard I died, but I'm here to correct the story. The room didn't breathe. Some guests had their phones out, but none had hit record, too stunned to even move. There was no accident, no tragic car crash, no closed casket because the body was too damaged, because there was no body. I reached into my coat and pulled out the thick folder I'd been carrying since that first call. Government stamps, legal seals, dated and signed. These are my passport stamps, employment records, lease agreements, tax filings, flight logs, all proving one thing. I've been alive, working, surviving. What I lost was not my life. It was my family. Murmurs stirred. Someone in the back whispered, "She's got proof." Another gasped. Then finally a phone lifted. Red, blinking. Someone had started filming. Good. Let the world see what kind of funeral this really was. I turned my eyes to Harold, my father, whose face looked like it had been carved from stone. "You didn't lose a daughter. You threw her away. Then you forged my death to cover up what your real daughter did." I looked at Brielle. Her hand trembled as it clutched her pearls, no longer a symbol of poise, but a rope to keep herself from unraveling. My trust fund, my inheritance, everything my grandparents left me, transferred to her. 6 months after I was declared dead. Brielle opened her mouth, maybe to deny it, maybe to beg. I didn't let her. "Don't enjoy the house you bought with my money too much. The deed still has my name on it." Gasps exploded around the room. Several phones were up now. Fingers tapping. Flashlights flickering. It was happening. The story they tried to write without me. I was rewriting it. Live. I turned once more to the crowd and said with calm finality, "You buried me to protect yourselves. But I didn't stay dead. I came back to haunt you with the truth." No more yelling. No threats. Just silence. Thick. Final. Unforgiving. I turned and walked down the aisle. My heels tapped like the punctuation marks on the end of every lie they ever told. Behind me, the church bells began to ring. How fitting. A funeral bell. But this time, not for me. The next day, I walked into Caleb Morrison's law office with one thing on my mind: closure. I handed him the folder I'd carried out of the church. "It's time," I said. "I want to be legally alive again." Caleb nodded, already flipping through the evidence. "We're filing everything today. Revocation of the death certificate, fraud charges, property theft, inheritance violation. This is no longer a case, it's a reckoning." He paused and looked at me. "Are you ready for all of this?" I didn't hesitate. They planned my funeral. Now I'm planning their courtroom. Underscore, 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 underscore. Within 2 weeks, the motion to revoke my death certificate was approved. My name, my existence, legally restored. The judge didn't even blink when he read the forged documents aloud. My parents had filed false government records. My sister had transferred wealth that wasn't hers to take. An investigation launched immediately into fraudulent death filing, falsified documents, inheritance theft, forgery and embezzlement. Their lies had built a paper grave, and now I was tearing every page apart. The house Brielle bought? Under seizure. The trust fund she spent? Frozen. The inheritance I was promised? Returning to me. As for the social humiliation? That happened naturally. The videos from the church, the stunned silence, the gasps, my words. They went viral. Hashtag back from the dead was trending for days. And I didn't say a word online. I didn't need to. I let the truth do what I was never allowed to. Speak. A few months later, I stood alone on the balcony of my new apartment, one I bought myself, in my own name, a mug of coffee in hand, a soft breeze pushing my hair back. No cameras, no chaos, just silence. But this time, it was my silence, not the one they forced on me. They tried to bury me, but they forgot something. I wasn't soil. I was fire. And now that I'd burned through their lies, I was finally free. Not dead. Not forgotten. Just beginning.